I spoke with the man for about 10 minutes. He might have been talking about Oklahoma history. I think I heard him mention the Tulsa race massacre. I watched his mouth form words like cover-up and atrocity through a thick mustache. Nobody knows about this. No one is talking about this. He told me that again and again. Hidden histories.
Welcome to Focus Black Oklahoma. I'm Jacob Littlebear.
And I'm Dr. Autumn Brown. In this episode, we explore mental health on the margins.
FVO's Nick Alexandrov pitched a story about extended stay motels in Tulsa. He hoped to meet people living there, to learn about their lives, their sources of stress, what keeps them going.
But the story didn't unfold the way he expected.
When I started, I thought it was an awareness issue because I wasn't aware of it.
Stephanie Gonzalez-Guitar is a sociologist. She studies families living in extended stay motels in Florida.
Since then, we've had, New York Times stories. People have written books about this. I saw, you see it on CNN. It's been on mainstream media. It's on the local media. People know that people are living in motels. And so that's not the issue anymore. Now it just seems like structural change just needs to happen. It's a policy issue now. That's what I landed on.
A system failure that plays out in familiar ways. In Oklahoma, Black residents make up about 8% of the population, but 22% of people experiencing homelessness. Stephanie Gonzalez-Guitar again.
You're living in the room for 28 days and you can be considered a resident, so a lot of them would be asked to move rooms so that they would reset the clock. Otherwise, they would have to formally evict them.
In other words, move people before the law recognizes them as tenants. There's a line between a motel guest and a tenant, but it's blurred. Oklahoma law says transient occupancy in a motel is not covered by landlord-tenant protections. The law doesn't clearly define when someone stops being a transient occupant and becomes a tenant. People can live at the motel, but they can't belong. It's a legal void. I can't report from a void. Not in 3 days. I need to go somewhere else. After a few days walking Admiral, I thought I might understand the place better from a distance. I built a spreadsheet, all the cheap motels along the interstate, every business on Admiral Place from Sheridan to Memorial. I looked up the owners, LLCs in Texas, family trusts in Arkansas, California. They live somewhere else. Maybe Admiral Place is a business model. Maybe it feels in between, a place only to pass through because the money flows out of it. A payoff for people far away. I tried to prove it, but the ownership trails vanished. I couldn't follow them. In Tulsa, the most recent point-in-time count identified about 1,400 people experiencing homelessness.
The Department of Housing and Urban Development requires cities that receive federal funding for homeless services to conduct a point-in-time count. The count takes place during a night in January and includes all people experiencing homelessness, whether sheltered or unsheltered.
This is Stephanie Gonzalez-Guitar again, the Florida sociologist.
It's a hard population to reach.
Sabina Brown is the Housing Senior Policy Analyst with the Oklahoma Policy Institute.
I think it's really uncomfortable for folks to think that they're closer to homelessness than they might think. Most people are one missed paycheck, one disaster away from eviction or homelessness. It's much more uncomfortable to think that it could happen to any of us and that this is really a system failure.
This Quick Hit is a segment from a special episode of Focus Black Oklahoma, which is part of a larger quarterly effort from Oklahoma media addressing mental health. Find the rest of the quarterly stories and more coverage from Tulsa Flyer, the Oklahoma Eagle, KOSU, La Semana, and the Frontier at tulsaflyer.org.